Hello, everybody. Welcome back to. Oh, this lighting is awful. There we go. Welcome back to Conversations with allieetoile. Today I have not one but two amazingly special guests who I'm very lucky and very proud to be able to call my friends and my colleagues. The beautiful, wonderful Celine Gittens, who is a principal with the Birmingham Royal Ballet, as well as her husband, who is the lovely Mr. Kit Holder, who is a first soloist. So, in just a couple moments, I am going to bring them on here and we are going to have an amazing conversation. But before we begin, I just wanted to ask how everyone is doing. Go ahead and send me a thumbs up if you're all okay. I hope everyone is. I know personally there's been days that have been great and there's been days where I've been like, okay, let's just go back to normal now, and it's tough. So I totally feel you. Let's see. Ah, there she is. Okay. Awesome. Join. Oh, awesome. Thumbs up. Okay. Hello there. Hi, Kit. Hi, Celine. How are you guys?
Allie,
Hey.
how are you?
Good. Well, welcome to Conversations with allieetoile. I'm like a terrible host, but hopefully, hopefully people like this. Well, anyways, I want to thank you guys both for being part of this today. I miss you both so much, and I hope that you guys are doing good.
We're good, actually, yeah.
We're
We're
keeping
good.
well.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
got home safe. You got out just in time, I think.
I did, thank you. Yeah, it was dramatic, the whole process of flying during this time. It was something that I've never experienced before, but I'm happy I was able to get to my family, so it worked out in the end. But
Did you have the distancing thing on the
actually,
plane where
it
you had to, keep it up?
Actually, I didn't. They did like the rapid tests, and they did like the CDC. As soon as our flight arrived, like they only let certain people off the airplane at a time, and you had to go through like 3 different screenings to pass through. And there was like temperature check, and then they did like a physical exam, and then they were
Sure.
asking you where you were traveling, and all these things. And I guess I was okay. I didn't look like a high profile individual, so I made it through, and I just kind of went home, and I did self isolate for a bit just out of respect for my family. But
Yeah.
Sure.
we're all good. Well, anyway, I want to dive into today's conversation because I have amazing topics, and I have actually, like, I've got my computer next to me, and people have just been writing in so much for both of you. But I want to pass this, like, metaphorical microphone to both of you guys for a moment and allow you guys to introduce yourself a little bit further, who you are, and also what you guys are doing right now.
Okay, well, I'll start. A principal dancer with Birmingham Royal Ballet, and I've been in the company for about 13 years, 14 years, lost track. But yeah, it's been a wonderful time in the company, and I've had a lot of opportunities. And I, yeah, I don't know what else you want me to say.
Where are you
um,
from?
yeah,
Yeah, where are you
yeah.
from?
Where am I from? I was born in Trinidad, in the Caribbean, and immigrated to Vancouver, Canada when I was 9 years old with my family, and then moved to England when I was 18. So I guess you could do the math and see how long I've been here. But yeah, and that was sort of my journey to England and to a professional ballet company. And that's pretty much it. It's been here for a long time. I'm a British citizen now, so I'm British and Canadian, so dual citizenship. Yeah, and on to
Amazing.
you.
And Kit, can you
Um,
tell us a little bit more
so,
about yourself?
sure. Hello, I'm Kit. I'm British. Uh, I grew up here. Actually, I grew up very locally to Birmingham here. So I grew up watching this company. At that point, the company was known as SAD as well as Royal Ballet, and they were based in London, and they were the sort of touring company, if you like, of the Royal Ballet Company. Um, but when I was 8 years old, that company relocated to Birmingham, changed their whole identity, and became the Birmingham Royal Ballet Company. And own right. We also still tour a lot, but we have now this fantastic base in Birmingham. And at that point, I went to join the kind of junior associate program of the company, where you would go once a week, take the classes, and that gave me the opportunity to perform with the company when I was a child in our production of The Nutcracker and David Bentley's Snow Queen. I also went on tour with the company when I was 10 years old, and I loved it, and I just thought, this is the best thing ever. This is what I want to do in my life, and how great that I can do it in my hometown, really. So I went off to the Royal Ballet School and always had this kind of singular aim to come back and dance with this company. And that's
you did.
ultimately what happened. Yeah.
Amazing.
Happy, and I've been here now pretty much forever. And yes, I'm still dancing with the company. I'm choreographing, and right now doing a whole load of things where we're not dancing as a company too.
For sure.
Kit gave a lot more detailed dance history, so maybe I'll give you a little bit of, a bit of more of my background and how I got into dance. And so my mom, Janet Gittens, she trained me. She's a ballet teacher. She teaches Royal Academy of Dance Soloist. So I kind of grew up with that. Ever since I was 3 years old, I started dancing. I was always in the studio with my mom. And I think the love for ballet and sort of classical music and the whole art form is really natural to me because it was always around me and I was always there. And there's this really popular story that my mom always tells, that I was in a stroller in the studio and she was instructing her students to point their toes, and I did it without even knowing what I was doing, and I was just pointing my toes. So I think it's just a natural thing for me to be in dance and to be, I guess, a ballerina and entertainer, which is what we do, entertain our audiences. So from training in Trinidad, I went to Vancouver and continued doing the Royal Academy of Dance Soloist, and went on to do the Jeune International Ballet Competition, which was held in London. That was in 2005, and became the first Canadian to win the gold medal at the competition, and currently the only Canadian to win gold. So I'm really happy about that. And also, in the meantime, still, keeping my education at the top of my priorities. So I graduated high school with honors in the International Baccalaureate program. In 2012, I got my Master of Philosophy, and Kit also holds some university degrees, and you can tell them about that later. And then I auditioned for Birmingham Royal Ballet 18 years old after I did the Prix Design, which I was a finalist for. And yeah, the whole process of getting into a company is quite stressful, I must say. And, you never guarantee what company you want to get into, even if it's at the top of your list. You have to have plan B, C, D, keep on going and keep your options open as well. But thankfully, this is pretty much on the top of my list. And it worked out. And the way that I actually auditioned for BRB was a funny one, because actually they didn't know I was going to be there. And I sort of were visiting family friends in Birmingham, and we decided, we'll just go there because it's the right time for it, and let's give it a shot. And then so we turned up, and thankfully the company just came back from Sunderland, touring in Sunderland. So they were back from tour, and David, the director at that time, David Bentley, Sir David Bentley, he was able to watch the class, and I had David watching. I had Michael O'Hare. Oh no, Michael O'Hare was teaching next door. Marion Tate was teaching the class. Who else was watching? Desmond Kelly came in to watch the class, and Alain Dubray came in to watch the class. So it's quite a lot of people watching my audition, and over time I've seen auditions happen, and it's not actually usually that many people who watch an audition. So felt quite special and special treatment. And yeah, and then I got my job, and that's
The rest is history. You know, it's
try to be a thorough.
no, it's amazing, both of you,
Yeah.
because both of your journeys, not only was it just focused on the task at hand, is I want to achieve this career, I want to get to that point, but it was also this, you know, realization of what's needed in your human lives to get there. And that's kind of one of the big umbrella topics, per se, that I wanted to cover today. And this is something, you know, Celine, you mentioned that you obviously have your master's degree. Kit, I know that you also have an immense knowledge with psychology. That's something I want to tap into as well today. So one of the first questions, you know, obviously I've talked and I've shared a little bit about the current situation with BRB. It's, you know, obviously the time in the world right now is devastating because curtains are closed, people are at home, and there's a lot of time on our hands, and people aren't really sure how to cope. You know, it's harder being a younger dancer for sure when you're not necessarily able to figure out what routine works best for you, or where should I continue to seek guidance and wisdom from during this time. So the first thing I really wanted to kind of segue into is really just, you know, what does your daily routine look like now? And obviously, there's times when we're in the studio as well where sometimes the physical demand is more, sometimes the mental demand is more. What would you say for you guys right now has been a bigger struggle?
Well, I mean, it's not really all sort of quarantine and chill, is it? For us, we're trying to keep our usual routine, which would be getting up, and we do ballet class, right? And that's something a lot of us in a professional company, and well, in Birmingham Ballet in particular, we've done that since, you know, we've been young kids, and we've been doing this routine since, you know, 5 years old, or whatever the age was when you started dancing and sort of doing your pre-professional training. So it's really hard now to, you know, stop doing it. And I actually would advise not to stop doing that, because it's your natural body's routine. So, you know, you get up, have breakfast, digest, and then, you know, you go into your day onwards from there. So I would definitely advise people to keep that routine that they've had all the time, you know, just to keep your body also in good tune and in check. So yeah, doing your ballet class, and we have our Birmingham Ballet Zoom ballet classes, you know, and so it's nice to keep in touch with our colleagues that way, and to see them over that medium. It's, you know, it's obviously different, but, you know, we're going to have to make it work, and that's how we're making it work. Definitely. And we've just received our Harlequin floors, so we're really grateful for that, and it's just going to help so much more, because, you know, it's just been really difficult trying to grip that fifth position on a on a wood floor or whatever surface, you know. So just keeping the also keeping the range of activities different. You know, it's nice to do Pilates. So we all at BRB have our own Pilates programs catered to our needs and what we need to work on. So, you know, keep that going and just get some fresh air and go outside. You know, I know we have our cap on how long we can be outside, but, you know, I think it's really important.
I have so many angles to kind of answer that question from, and I think the bracket to answer everything is that at the moment we don't know how long this situation is going to go on for.
Yeah.
Right. So it's quite hard to schedule yourself in the long term in terms of your training. You know, well, we were due to have our annual holiday, mid-season break, through July. Mm-hmm. So that's normally where we would have our downtime. We'd stop training. You know, we'd detrain for a little while, and then you have this period of holiday, and then you come back and you start training again to get ready for the next season. That's all kind of gone out the window, and we don't know. Yeah. You know, should we have a real break now, or should we really train really hard now and then have a break in, say, June. We just don't know at this point. So it's, I mean, speaking for myself, Celine was probably the opposite. The first 2 weeks of this scenario where we weren't working, I was shocked. I had zero motivation to train, right? And those people that I work with know that I tend to see myself as a kind of wannabe athlete kind of thing. I train quite hard on the bike and in the gym and all this stuff. And it really surprised me that I just didn't feel like doing that. It was quite a revelation.
But I think actually in support of your feelings is that we were in the midst of a 6-week tour of Swan Lake. And that in itself, and we were also mid-season after doing how many performances of Giselle at the beginning of the season, with the triple bill, and the Nutcracker, which we did about a month, and then we had a week at Royal Albert Hall. So, you know, halfway into the season, everyone's going to feel that way, and I completely understand how Kit was feeling, you know, that sort of lack of motivation.
Well, it was really surreal. You know, we'd this tour of Swan Lake, and I think we'd just come back from Sunderland. We keep mentioning Sunderland.
I know.
We've just come back from Sunderland.
Should check the map about Sunderland where it is. Fun facts.
Came into work. So we'd come back from the tour on the Saturday night, and we came into work on the Monday, and it was kind of like, okay, we're done. Go home.
Yeah, it was.
And it was, you know, it's just from this craziness of shows to nothing suddenly.
Yeah.
It was interesting for sure. You know, I am in the same position where I just, from the minute we came home up until the minute I found out I could go home, like home, it was just this unbelievable sense of what's happening, you know, what do I do, you know, and it's definitely like, this is one thing that I have been having so many people write in and send in, is just like, I feel lost, like, I have all of these tools, I have all of this wisdom, you know, people on Zoom classes, I have X many years of ballet training and this much advice and these resources to use at home, but I just can't tap into it. I can't find that, like, you know, let's get up and do it, you know, because it can be very, you know, as much as it is amazing to identify like how much we love being Celine the ballerina, Allie the ballerina, Kit, you know, like that's like our big identity. That's how a lot of people like know us, is who we are on stage and the professional accolades. But it's also a time right now where we don't get to be those people. We're Celine the person, Kit the person, Allie the person, and identifying those basic human needs is something that I think dancers can forget. You know, I definitely forgot about that my teen years, when it was just like the blinders are on and focused on being this little ballet machine, you know. And as I've gotten older and as I've, you know, I'm sure you guys have lived this too, it becomes more of, you know, what is good for me as a person, what's good for my life, and how does that also benefit my career. And so I wanted to kind of tie that into the next big subject as well, which is basically just, you know, transitioning from student to professional. You know, how, you know, what advice can you share that you wish you knew but didn't when you were making that journey and when you're making that step in your career? And then also for those students right now, this is kind of a two-part question, you know, first part being what advice do you have, and second part being what advice do you have for those dancers who are, this was their quote audition season and now there's not an audition season and they don't know what's going to be for the future, you know, if they're going to be able to dance next season.
Can I start on that one?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, obviously we all have a lot of friends who are trying to get jobs for next season, whether they're moving from one company to another or you know, they're students, or I mean, I feel so much for freelance performers at this period as well.
Yeah.
That's a real challenge for everyone in that kind of scene. I think the thing with the audition season is that certainly in Europe that tends to be in the spring, the bulk of those things. That clearly just hasn't happened this year. But when those companies are operating again, they're going to need dancers. That kind of merry-go-round will still happen. Whether that will happen now in the autumn or whether it will happen next spring, we just sort of write off this year, who knows? But I think it's a kind of question in that context for those dancers. Just be patient, keep yourself ticking over, um, it's hard without that structure, I think, of the day-to-day class
Training.
rehearsal routine.
Yeah, definitely.
But the anxiety that creates for people who don't know where they're going to be working and when they're going to be working, whether those people are freelancers or otherwise,
Yeah.
That's difficult.
For sure, it really is.
And I kind of wanted to backtrack a little bit for what you were talking about with identity.
Sure, definitely.
So, like right now, I'm as part of my studies in psychology, I'm working on sort of burnout and athletic identity. So my interest is really in performance psychology, and it's this idea that your identity as a performer, as a dancer, let's say, is the extent to which that you embody that.
Yeah.
So how much is your life dominated by what your discipline is there? So for us, let's focus on ballet.
Yeah.
You're exactly right that for most people to get to a professional career, it's been the dominant force in your life for a long, right?
Absolutely.
And I think it's quite a difficult thing to go from being a student to being a professional. We all know this. Yeah. And I think you have this singular aim, target, which is to get a job as a dancer.
Into the company, which I said was quite stressful. And you don't realize how stressful it is until you're at that point.
You're
when
living
you have to audition,
yeah.
And the time is, I need to get into a company.
Yeah.
And that's,
And I think for me, when I was 8 years old, I knew that I wanted to come to this company. And so for the next 10 years, that was all I really worked towards. And my parents are brilliant and were kind of saying, make sure you work on your academic side as well. And I did that. That was all good.
It's the same with my parents.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we both kind of didn't need for this to work. We had the academic side that we could also rely on. But to be completely honest, I joined this company, and for a few years, I was really happy and everything. But then I kind of realized, well, I'm here now. What's the goal?
What's
from here?
Next? Yeah.
It wasn't that I wanted to be the prince at the front of the stage doing all the featured stuff. I just wanted to be in this company. And then once I got there, I just realized, well, now I need another goal.
For sure.
And it was weird to figure out what that was. And I think that for me was the difficult part of transitioning from being a student to being a professional. There's the practical side of things that you learn. So there's certain just conventions or ways of behaving in professional life that you don't necessarily know from being a student. I mean, I remember really early on in the first run of performances, there was a mixed program that I wasn't involved in. But obviously, especially as a new dancer, I was hanging around and watching all the shows and trying to
absorb everything.
Yeah, precisely. Mm. And I remember one of the principal dancers who I pretty much grew up watching and really admired was dancing in the show, and I was standing in the wing, and she came off stage and said to me, "You're standing too close." And I had no idea, right? I was standing literally like in the wing to watch the show, but I guess in my jeans or whatever. She was lovely. She was really polite, but I was distraught. I was so embarrassed, right? Yeah. There's kind of practical stuff like that you learn. Everybody is kind of familiar with this idea that you don't just walk in the studio and stand anywhere at the bar. It might be somebody's bar space, you know. I don't think we're not particularly like that. I mean, in Birmingham.
Yeah, I guess it depends who it
but
is.
Those kind of behavioural things you learn when you join the company.
Yeah.
And hopefully
just having an awareness. Yeah, having an awareness and respect for your colleagues, for sure. And, it's interesting as well, when you're joining a company, whether it's for the first time or joining into a second company at some point in your career, there's always this adjustment period, and there's always a time where maybe you're going to have insecurities, whether or not you're transitioning to a different company or not. It's a part of the nature of what we do. Like, we're not always absolutely 100% in love with everything we're doing. And it doesn't always translate the way, of course, maybe I wanted to do a nice double pirouette that day, but maybe it didn't happen. You know, there's days where it just doesn't always work out. And so I want to talk a little bit about insecurities and pressures, and I want to tie that into, you know, something that I've had so many requests and questions about. And of course, I'd love to hear both of your perspectives on this as well. You know, it's a very sensitive, delicate topic, but it's definitely something that I think gets neglected a bit within our industry, within our world, and that is having a healthy body image. You know, obviously this is a very competitive world that we live in, you know, there is an expectation and there is a requirement for the way we have to look in order to do the work that we are doing. Because ballet is an aesthetic art form, and thankfully that's been opening up and being more inclusive to the world now, but there are still some pretty heavy stigmas and stereotypes, and what I have found and what I'm finding from everyone writing in is that this is only continuing to be more and more difficult, you know, for younger dancers or dancers who are at the beginning of their careers, because not only are you continuing to like grow up as a person, you know, there's this thing called puberty, and it's kind of awful sometimes. You know, there's this aspect of you're looking at the girl to the right or the guy to the left and seeing things that maybe don't look the same way that they do on you, and you get and then of course we have social media looking at someone who just did 90 pirouettes or has their leg wrapped around their head, and these images and these outside influences can really harbor this kind of big internal, you know, I don't want to say a problem per se, but it can really lead your mind down this rabbit hole of I'm not good enough, you know, fill in the blank. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on just, you know, having a positive image on your body, and then also just, you know, being able to accept the changes as they happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a topic that is existing, and also it's a very sort of sensitive topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about openly and freely, and you know, in fears of hurting people's feelings and
absolutely,
you know, just opening a whole can of worms. But you know, it is an important part of a dancer to have a good diet and a well-balanced diet, and a diet that supports what they are expected to do in terms of energy expenditure and how much they need to support their muscles and bones, because that's, you know, what is holding us up, what is giving us the strength. It's giving us our coordination, and it's everything for our bodies. And actually this can be applied for, you know, the general population as well. But we have to treat ourselves as elite athletes, which we are, and that's how we're training. You know, our days are, we start at 10:30 a.m. with ballet class, and we finish at 6:30 with rehearsals all the way through.
Yeah.
And we need to eat things that will sustain us throughout the day, and give us that, you know, sustained energy throughout the day. And I think a big problem is definitely social media, and how students especially view social media and the dancers that they see on social media, and how they look, and the ideas of what is accepted and what is not. And the thing is, that is so easily, I guess, I don't know, it's so easy to misunderstand what is actually needed for a professional dancer and for a successful dancer. And it, you know, it's a dancer who has a body that can cope with the intensity of this job. And it really is intense. With our company, with Birmingham Ballet, we do so many shows. You know, you do have to have a good diet to keep on going with those shows. So it really is not at all the truth about being super thin and, you know, dancers eating lettuce only and sniffing food and all that, you know, the calorie counting and all that stuff. It's just not worth it. And you need to have a good diet, you know, to do Swan Lake. I mean, I ended up doing twice a week Swan Lake or Deal, and you have to have a good diet to keep yourself going, keep that energy going, keep the shows as fresh as possible, because you know, it's going to be like the 20th time I've done it, but it's the first time the audience has seen it, so it has to keep fresh.
Absolutely.
So it's really sad when you see, especially pre-professional dancers, go down the wrong route with their health and with what they think is acceptable or what they think is going to make them succeed in this career.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Can I just come in on that as well?
Please.
There's 2 points I really want to make, and the first one I think is possibly the most important and the real takeaway from this is that we are around other dancers all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much right now, but we train with other dancers. In companies, you know, you tend to socialize with other dancers. If you see somebody there that you are concerned about, talk to them, ask them, show them some love. If you're not comfortable to talk to that person, talk to somebody else who might know that can, whether you have a healthcare team in your organization or you're a student, talk to a member of staff. People know about this stuff. It doesn't have to be a taboo thing. Raise a concern. No one's going to be offended that you're concerned about them, right? And if they are, then you'll get past that pretty soon. If there is no issue there, then they found out that someone cares about them, and that can only ever be a good thing.
It is. It's
right?
so true.
But
Yeah.
I wanted to come back on the social media thing as well. And again, from the psychology side, I've done a little bit of work on this with body image and the influence on social media. And I think it's something that's very pertinent to dancers, obviously. And I completely agree with everything that Celine says. We could not do what we do to the extent and to the level that we aspire to do it if we're not looking after ourselves properly. And I do think that, you know, the information is out there, the education is out there for people to know the basics of how to look after themselves. It's not complicated, right? We do know this. So the thing with the social media is that we all know that it's a very, very curated, deliberate decision to post a particular perspective of yourself, right?
Definitely, yeah.
We all do it, right? Whether we're deliberately posting ugly pictures or whatever, right? It's a very, very limited view of somebody. So when you're looking online at dancers, and I think right now, of course, there's such a huge wave of dance content because everyone's just trying to do something.
Everyone's on their phones. Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
But the dance thing, it's a snapshot. So people are looking at, you know, a 25-second, 30-second clip or a picture, and what tends to get that instant grab of attention is something that seems to be extreme, right? And that is not representative of the art form.
I really like that perspective.
You might see somebody who's got an extreme overextension, right? And it gets millions of likes.
And they think that that's what you need to be, but it's really not.
Yeah, the question for me is that we're a performing live art form. We're not a photographic art form. We make brilliant photos of dancers. Photographers love dancers because they can look really gorgeous. But for every post that you see and you go, oh my word, her arabesque is incredible, that's fine. But I want to know, it doesn't translate for me that dancer is going to be a brilliant dancer. Are you going to go and watch that dancer in a performance? Are they going to entertain you? Are they going to move you? Are you going to be inspired? No, they're just kicking their leg up, you know? That's not to say that people can't do both, but I'm saying that that's not the thing to aspire to, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
We need to be entertained. We need to be hit somewhere more deeply than that 5-second moment of like, wow, that's a high leg, or wow, that's a bendy foot.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think also there's a duty of care for teachers and directors and coaches to look after their students or company members who they see or feel is going in the wrong direction, because those dancers may not necessarily know it, or they may know it, but they're not sure if people can see it, or, you know, those sort of things involved. And I do think that it is, and it shows definitely that they're caring about you and looking after you in a personal level, that there is a duty of care from those who are above you to sort of nip that at the bud and sort of motivate you in a different way.
And what you see with social media as well, and the work that I was doing on this was really relating to sport and exercise.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about that first, and then I'll see how it translates to dancers. But what you tend to see on the social media sites is people talking. So you'll have hashtags like Fitspiration, for example.
Yes,
right?
I've
and
seen
what
that.
they tend to do is they tend to focus on the aesthetic side of it. So you'll have a picture of somebody who's got incredible abs now, or, you know, really defined muscle in some way, and it focusing on the look. What it's not focusing on is the performance, the improvements that person might have made in their aerobic capacity, or their strength, or their ability to cover a distance in a quicker speed, or whatever. I think that's unhealthy, because you're looking at somebody else's body and going, oh, I should look like that.
And everyone's different.
You're not looking at somebody going, oh, wow, they've improved their 4-minute distance, you know, in a run or whatever.
For sure.
Which is something that you can aspire to, and it's something you can achieve. In dance, I think it's similar in the way, okay, this person's got an amazing bendy foot. Okay, but can they stand up on it? Can they really go on point on that?
You know, the strength there.
Yeah,
you know.
It's
so true.
We are in a state of art, and this is where I think it's a little bit harder to disentangle these things.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, it has to be about the improvements and the physicality and the strength and the quality, not just about the look.
And it's important too. It's interesting because people are writing in as well, you know, do you have to have those qualities, those things to be a principal dancer, to have a career? You know, no, not every dancer has the leg that wraps around their neck, the foot that bends in half, but they're amazing, incredible artists. And that's also what makes us unique. And I think that people lose sight of, you know, becoming your own artist and identifying those strengths. And I don't like to use the word weaknesses. This is something that I've tried to identify on these conversations as well. I don't think it's healthy to say this is my weakness, because you're already diminishing what work you have done and what effort you've put into yourself. And it takes a lot of strength physically and mentally to do what we're doing. And I like to refer to these areas just as areas of improvement, because we are always trying to improve. And you guys, I'm sure, can agree to the statement of you don't stop trying to get better and trying to improve what we're doing until the day that we're retired, you know? So it's definitely something as well that I just think having that awareness, or at least having a brighter spotlight on these kinds of conversations, it helps normalize it, and it also helps put it into perspective. Like, we all have this. We all think these or feel these things at some point, or will experience them, and it's not how it's going to tear you down and be, you know, oh my gosh, this is wrong with me, this is wrong with me. This is how I'm different, and I like that, so let's see how I can implement that into what I'm doing, or let's use this as motivation, you know? And so there's another topic that I want to touch with you guys, and there's a bunch of questions that are being sent in about it as well. And Kit, I actually think they're directing this one towards you. And Celine, I'd love to hear you as well. But
is it about my beard? Nobody believes I'm with a beard.
No, of course not. But you know, and I think this is a little bit with the psychology thing as well. You know, how important is it to have a relationship with your artistic superiors? Because a lot of people are writing in and asking, you know, I've been saying on here, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to talk to your colleagues, your artistic directors, your coaches, because those are the people who have not only lived through what we're living through, but more often than not, these people took up that position of leadership because they want to help us have a career like they did, you know? And so they're asking, you know, I'm not comfortable speaking to my coach. I'm not comfortable speaking to my AD. I'm not comfortable speaking to somebody else but I know I need to. What advice could you give to somebody who is maybe in a place where they don't have the confidence, or they don't necessarily have the right words or the right approach to speaking to someone in authority position? Because it is a very real thing. You know, I think that there's fear of being reprimanded, and there's fear of being disrespectful. So, Celine, if you've experienced this as well, I'd love to get your thoughts too.
Okay, so the first thing to say, I think, is that everybody needs somebody. Okay, and that's in life generally, right? Whether that's a partner, whether that's parents, family, close friends, whatever. You need to talk to somebody always. You know, you don't have to feel like there's something wrong to talk to someone. If you don't have someone to talk to, there will very quickly be something wrong. We're an inherently social species, right?
Yeah.
So when you put that into an organizational context, there's interestingly, I'm doing some work on this kind of thing at the moment, right? So there's the individuals, right? The individual factors involved here. That's your personality, your own background, your experiences, previous experiences.
Sure.
That all contributes to your ability or your feeling comfortable in a particular context, as well as the context of the organization. So whether the organization has a culture that facilitates that kind of communication actively or not.
Yeah.
And even if it does, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone in that organization is going to feel equally comfortable.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
So, and I had our current director, Carlos Acosta, is very new. So, most of us haven't really had time to establish relationships with him, but my contacts that I've had with him so far, we've worked on a few things together now, and I feel very, very comfortable talking to him. But that's me, and I've been a professional dancer for 20 years now, so whatever, he's a director, he's just another guy, with all the respect for, directors and what they've achieved in their careers. At this point, if we're effectively equals, we're all working to do the same thing, which is to make the shows and the work of the company as good as it can be. Our previous director, David Bentley, I also had a really good relationship with him. We supported the same football team, which helped. But the thing is, and I think it's especially important with younger dancers that haven't been around for as long. You need to talk to somebody, and I fully understand that might not be part of the artistic staff or the director. It could be another dancer, and everybody wants the benefit of talking to somebody who's experienced maybe similar environments. If it's a specific issue that you're wanting to talk about, it's very likely that somebody will understand it, even if they haven't directly experienced that themselves. I like to think that in Birmingham Royal Ballet, we're a pretty friendly, open, relaxed company, and I like to think that if dancers wanted to come in, if they thought that I might be able to help, I like to think that they would come and talk to me. I know that I've made myself available to people, and some dancers have come to me with things that they're concerned about, and I'm very happy to try and offer what I can. And if sometimes that has been, well, you should go and talk to the director.
Yeah.
I want to, what if it looks bad? It doesn't look bad if you've got an issue that you're trying to solve so that you can be happier in yourself, more comfortable, and therefore better placed to work properly for the organization.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah, and as people...
There's a mantra with feel good, do good.
Yeah, it's amazing as well.
Yeah. And
oh, sorry, go ahead, Celine, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say that it's along the lines of what Kit's saying, is that in the company, if you probably look up to someone or see someone who's doing successfully and they seem to be a person that they would listen to, to what you have to say, then I think that would be the right person as well. And if you want to take it outside your workplace or outside your dance school or wherever you're training, I think there are a lot of other services that would help with this, with these matters. Online, you can find a lot of help online, and just searching and also getting advice and facts. And I'm sure there are blogs as well, talking about who can help, and direct you to the right individual for your needs.
I also think that the world generally is quite a friendly place, and we forget that. We really forget that. People
Very true.
get a kind of personal satisfaction, a little bit of a kick out of helping other people. We all do. And, and you could, I don't know, think of the most nasty seeming, unhelpful, self-centered person that you can think of. I guarantee that somewhere deep inside that hard shell, they will still get a kick out of being helpful.
Yeah.
And they'll feel good about having done something good for somebody else. It's this real altruism. You don't need to gain anything other than just that sense of satisfaction. I firmly believe that people do
For sure.
get that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, when you mentioned just being able to talk to colleagues. I'll use myself as an example out here. My first week at BRB, I have to say you two, just by chance, were like the first people that I started talking to and meeting. And
Yeah.
it was like I kind of came into this, it wasn't my first company, so it wasn't just like, oh my God, like I know nothing, but it was also like I am actually still very out of my element. And I had to figure out things. It's funny because I said this on another talk earlier this week, is like, I didn't know what a TV license was until I talked to Kit and Celine, even if it's something, if it's not career even.
Yeah, I think it's something probably that I've learned. So when I joined the company, Ambra Vallo she was a past principal with the company, and she sort of took me under her wing. And I guess back then, and I guess the company has changed since 2006.
Sure.
And the dynamic of the company, and it's a lot closer now. Yeah, it was really, I guess, weird for people to see a principal dancer with a first-year quarter ballet talking or hanging out and doing stuff together. It was really nice. And I think now, being in that position of principal dancer, it's nice to sort of do the same thing that she did, Ambra did. And, she's just the nicest person I think I've ever met. Such a good heart. And it's nice to learn from that and then give it back. And hopefully others would continue that in our company.
I love that. And I think it's so valid.
One of the things that's become really, really clear over time is that our season always starts, we come back from our summer break in sort of August, the middle of August usually, and we'll start performing in September. We'll do this autumn tour. And it's become really clear to me that you kind of need to give the new dancers until at least the Nutcracker season, just to sort of find their feet. And as you say, just navigate all the systems in the UK. It's like, so this is how I organise my rent, or council tax, TV license, all of these things that you need to figure out. Oh, how do I set up a Wi-Fi connection for my house? I need the internet, all of these things. There's so much going on for people at that point in life. And one of the things that, we try and do that first week back, we try and open an invitation to all the dancers, but especially the new ones, to say, oh, listen, we're all going to go for a drink on the Friday night in this place. Come along if you want, just to try and...
I think it's just creating an atmosphere of inclusiveness for especially the new ones, and especially those who have never worked with a company before, because I never did. A lot of the pre-professional dancers from Royal Ballet School or Elmhurst or other schools like that have worked with the companies, and I never had that. So as we talked earlier, having that experience with a company was so, it was foreign to me. So especially for those who are not from the UK, and I had the same experience that you did, Ali, TV license, who wouldn't known that you had to pay a license for your TV, but you do. And all of these things you learn, and it's just easier if someone has been through it, to give advice and make that process a lot smoother.
Absolutely.
And I think also that sort of inclusiveness with the younger ones, we call you the younger ones, at an early stage,
Yeah.
hopefully, as I talked about with Amber giving back, hopefully that would give back as well, and that they will see the company as a unit rather than individual dancers and individual ranks, and we're not all up against each other, as the Black Swan movie portrays.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The thing is that we are a team, right? And I think this is the same for certainly ballet companies all over the place. And we want everybody performing at their best.
Definitely.
And you can't be performing at your best if you're distracted about,
Oh yeah,
how you pay your rent, or how you're gonna book your accommodation for this tour.
Yeah.
And it just relates back a little bit to what you were saying before, Ali, about you have to feel comfortable talking to the company. So I think when dancers join Birmingham Royal Ballet, they're told, okay, this is how touring works, this is how payroll works, but it's so much information, and I think a lot of the time people don't want to ask, oh, I didn't really understand that, can you explain? Because they don't want to look stupid, or
absolutely.
These aren't stupid questions. These are really valid, normal, important questions, but people don't necessarily feel comfortable to answer that, to ask that.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important for us, it's a responsibility actually, as colleagues, to offer that help so that people are able to focus and just get on and do their job properly.
And I think it's amazing that both of you, and this isn't just both of you guys as individual, this represents to me BRB as well, the type of people who we have there. It's incredible to see the amount of support professionally, helping each other become better dancers and better artists, but on the human level, when it comes down to it. And I think that that's something that sometimes there's a bit of a stigma or stereotype that it's just this constant cutthroat environment where you're always trying to be better, but it's not. I love that this is a company where we build each other up, and it's in more ways than one. And so before we run out of time, because I wish we could keep talking about all this, but there is one other question that I have been asking all of my guests on this series so far, and it has provoked some amazing thoughts and some amazing answers. And basically
No pressure.
No pressure, right? But basically, we've touched a bit on stigmas and stereotypes and just environmental and circumstantial instances within our world. And what is one thing that you would love to see change within our industry when we all come out of this, coronavirus time? Again, it doesn't have to be a stigma or stereotype, but something within our world. And when I mean ballet world, I mean, our little bubble, as big as that may be.
Yeah, I think what I would like to see more of is a focus on talent, rather than, I guess, other driving factors. That is not actually the reason for being a ballet dancer.
Sure.
So that's something I would like to see more, and so that's looking for talent, harnessing that talent, and then nurturing talent. That's my major. I don't know, something I see in the future that would help this career, this art form.
Definitely.
Because nurturing talent at a young age, especially, it pays off. It will pay off in the end, because you've helped someone who probably wasn't very confident in themselves, didn't realize that they had the ability or have the ability and natural qualities to be in this career. But I think a lot of things can come in and sort of block that talent from going forward. And you need to be an individual who is very open-minded and have an open heart to help people to get there, and to encourage them to pursue their goals and pursue what they love doing. So I think for me, it's well, I guess it would be in companies and also with students that I'd like to see more of nurturing natural talent, or people
an investment
who
in
have
those
the love
abilities.
for the art form. Yeah, I think the love for the art form as well, because then then they really want to do it, you know, because
Sure.
you could have all the natural abilities and be capable, but not have the heart for it, and therefore it'll be a career sort of wasted, because you never really enjoyed it, but you just did it because you were told to, or that it came easy to you. So
I have a vested interest in this and a bias for sure, but I would like to see more psychological support throughout the training system, particularly. I don't know about necessarily different training programs around the world. In my education, in my ballet education, there was no psychological support, no formalized, articulated psychological support. Every teacher and coach up to some point is using some degree of psychological techniques and skills.
Sure.
But I would really now like to see those things completely normalized, to remove any stigma that you have to have an issue to work with a psychologist. Certainly psychologists can help with issues, but more importantly, they can help prevent issues occurring.
Yeah.
But it's not even just that, it's so much more. It's about giving somebody the psychological skills so that they can perform better, right?
Absolutely.
We've all seen dancers who struggle perhaps with nervousness, or stress management is an issue for people. I would like to see those techniques just taught in the same way that a ballet class is taught to enforce your dance technique. No, stress is a normal thing. Here's some techniques on how you can handle it.
to cope with
Here's
it.
here's how you, when you get that big breakthrough role, here's how you can stop yourself stressing like crazy, and you can actually harness that energy to give the best performance that you can. I would like that to be normal,
Yeah.
really, and it's definitely not prevalent across dance education.
Well, I did my research with the University of Birmingham was based on pre-performance anxiety also. So it was perfectionism in elite ballet dancers and artistic gymnasts. Also looking at areas of pre-performance anxiety. And my findings, they showed that the ballet dancers, unfortunately, did not know how to cope with it as well as the artistic gymnasts did. And that is because their coach was always there and they had access to it a lot easier.
Sure.
It was a lot more something that was talked about a lot more. And I think, yeah, that's exactly what Kit is saying, that in ballet, in especially the professional scene, it does kind of lack a bit. Yeah, and it can be avoided. And in the other side of it is that you'll have a lot more confident and assured dancers. So
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to run out of time because we are just about there, but I want to thank, Celine, Kit, I want to thank both of you guys for being part of this
Thank you so
conversation
much.
today. I mean, I just adore you guys. I think you already know that, hopefully. But I have learned so much, and hopefully everyone who is watching this and will watch this has learned something as well. This video is going to be recorded and available on my YouTube channel in just a couple days. And in the meantime, for everyone watching, if you guys want to learn more about Kit and Celine, I've got details on all of them and their amazing professional and personal accolades on the allieetoile.com website on their artist profiles. And you guys, I can't wait to see you guys soon. And thank you again for this amazing hour of thought. I love it. And I love you both.
Well, thank you so much for having us. And I just hope that everyone is breathing ballet at home and just staying active.
Yes.
Keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on having your schedule. Stay positive. That's the way to do it.
All
Stay
good
safe,
things.
stay home.
Yes.
Stay home.
Thank you
But get
both.
some fresh air.
You guys
And
take
keep
care.
connected with you.
Yes. For
Take
sure.
care of
Bye,
and family.
guys. Thank you so much.
Bye. Yeah.